Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you took my advice from last week, put it out on FanDuel, and cashed some money. I ended up tripling my money, and I ended up over $110 this weekend, so I banked half that, and I'm going to use half of that for my bankroll. So hopefully you guys had just as much luck. If not, if you're just now finding this channel out, good for you. Listen to this advice, think about it, build your lineup, win that money. If you are coming over from my sports blog, which I now linked over on most of my blog parts, it is fantasysportsadvice.sportsblog.com. Check that out. I have everything that we talk about here. It's just that right here, everything is more in depth, and that's just the paper version that you can check it out. So let's just get right down to it. Today I wanted to talk about NFL Week 7 top 10s on FanDuel. It'll be top 10 by position until we get over to tight end. Then it'll be top 5, and kickers and defenses are not on here just because it's always play the matchup with that one, and you can kind of figure that out once you can build your lineup. Usually about, if you have some money left over, a defense is usually 5,000 to about 5,500, whatever you have left over. So let's get right down to it. The number one quarterback I think this week is Phillip Rivers. San Diego going up to Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously going up to Jaguars, they are just completely, they'll get you some points, but they will not win a game. You're going to see quite a few Chargers on this list, possibly, because again, they are going up against the Jaguars, who gave up only 35 points to Denver. Now, 35 points to most teams is a lot of points. Denver's not a lot of points. They've been scoring, I think they're averaging about 45, 48 a game. And they were going up against Jacksonville, and the spread was negative 28 or negative 27. So they did cover. So I just believe that Phillip Rivers, he just beat the Colts. He will beat Jacksonville this week. Number 2 is Jay Cutler. Chicago Bears versus the Redskins. Their secondary are just awful, and they give up the big passes and the big plays. And he has more weapons than ever right now, I think. Brandon Marshall having a huge game last week. He's got Alshon Jeffrey. He's got a tight end. He's got lots and lots of options to go in the air, along with Matt Forte, who runs the ball, and he also catches passes. So look for Jay Cutler to be, he's going to be pretty good. Jay Cutler's 7,900 on FanDuel, and Phillip Rivers is 7,600. Peyton Manning, he's versus his old team, the Colts. I think he's going to beat the Colts at home. I think he's going to get a lot more cheers than he will boos. His price, unfortunately, is $10,400. I think he's going to be the top scoring QB this week. I'm not 100% sure on this one. He kind of was non-Peyton-like last week, but he still got the win, still got enough points. If you're doing head-to-head, I would go with Peyton as your QB. If you're going into bigger tournaments, I would kind of look for that. Yes, that is my dog Heidi. Thank you for ruining this. Robert Griffin going up against Chicago. A home game is good for RG3, but he still struggles as a team. I do believe the Bears will force him to keep scoring. The Bears will go up on them, and he will have to throw it or run it, and a healthy RG3 is a good RG3, so we'll have to see. Tony Romo against the Eagles. The Eagles also give up big passes. His price has skyrocketed since playing Denver when he put up 500-plus passing yards, 5 TDs, but also lost the game. So look for him. He is at number 5 right there. Cam Newton just came off a monstrous game against the Vikings. His price is $8,700. He is going up against the Rams, who did beat the Texans, but they do give up the runs, and Cam Newton is a pass scramble first quarterback. He is he's not too bad. He is ranked number 6 on this list, and like I said, he's 8,700. Next up is Aaron Rodgers, and he is at 9,400, so he's right at the top. He is going up against the Browns. The only reason I put him down on this list is because of the price that he has. His price is not really showing what he's been doing all year. I think you're paying more for the name than you are for the actual stats. But again, he's going up against Cleveland at Green Bay. I think he's going to have a pretty good game. I don't know if he's going to have the best game of this week. I think it's still going to be Peyton Manning, but Aaron Rodgers is number 7. Number 8 is Andrew Luck, and he is at 8,700 versus the Broncos. I do believe that the Broncos are going to pull ahead and it's going to make Andrew Luck throw to his receivers. T.Y. Hilton, Reggie Wayne. So look for that. Trent Richardson's going to get those short passes, shoveled off passes. Whether or not those are going to be for big gains or not, we just don't know. Number 9 is Eli Manning. I know what you're thinking. Eli Manning is Eli Manning is Eli Manning. He is not the right Manning brother. He does have back-to-back games with 3 interceptions, which is not good. But he is going up against a Minnesota defense that just saw Cam Newton destroy them for 34 fantasy points. I do believe Eli Manning is going to have a good game. News just broke a little bit ago that Josh Freeman is actually starting, which I think is better than Christian Ponder and Castle. I can't predict whether or not New York is going to win the game. It is at home. It would be nice to see New York win the game, get their first win of the year. They are 0-6. Somehow, surprisingly, they still can win their division. That division is just god-awful. So Eli Manning's price is $6,800 versus the Vikings. That is pretty good for Eli Manning. I'm going to say he's going to, even if they don't win the game and he has a decent game and doesn't throw any interceptions, or even if he throws 1 interception and does not throw 3 like he has, he's going to be a good value at $6,800. It's just who knows with Eli, and it's going to be against the Vikings. So that's really a judgment call on yours. And number 10, surprisingly, is Mike Glennon. He is $5,800. He is versus the Falcons. I believe the Falcons will get up on them pretty big. It's going to make Glennon throw. Vincent Jackson is who he was pretty good with last week with 2 touchdowns. I don't think they're going to win the game. In fact, I know they're not going to beat the Falcons, but I think Glennon for $5,800 is a pretty good steal considering he can pass the ball. Let's get right into running backs as any next lineup's going to have. First off, I have Danny Woodhead at $6,100 versus the Jaguars. It is versus the Jaguars, and he's if you just watch the game with Denver versus the Jaguars defense gave up 3 rushing touchdowns to no Sean Moreno. Danny Woodhead's price is pretty low for his production value, so look for that. Chicago, Matt Forte, he's good at running, and he's good at catching. 8,500 versus the Redskins. I believe he's going to have a good game. I think he's going to have a pretty good game because he is that running back that can run and catch the ball. Number 3 might be surprising, but it is D'Angelo Williams, Carolina versus St. Louis, the same Rams that just gave up over 141 yards to Arian Foster this week, even though they did win by a substantial margin. Just because the team wins, they can have an individual player in daily fantasy sports that does really well and still going to get you that points. I do believe we want to go with D'Angelo Williams before Stewart does get back. Whether or not that's going to be soon or not, as of right now, D'Angelo will be the starter. This is a bad run defense, and Williams has totaled over 100 yards in 3 of his 5 games this year and has decent totals in the other 2 games. He catches passes also, which is always going to be that screen pass, might be a little dump-off pass, so look for that. Number 4 is a surprise since DeMarco Murray went out, Joseph Randle, and Randle is $5,500 versus the Eagles, which is pretty low. He's pretty explosive back for what we've seen. He has been jumping up on the waiver wire this week. Whether or not that's good news, bad news, how many people is going to start, I don't think very many people will start Joseph Randle. That is why I put him at number 4. And he is going up against Philly, who just has a hard time stopping anyone. They have a good defense or offense when it's clicking, but the defense is a mess right now. Number 5, Adrian Peterson has fallen down to number 5, as you can see, but he still is priced at $9,400. It is true that he has his son, one of his sons, I guess he's got like 7, but one of them did die. So I kind of factored that in this past week, and I was thinking whether his head was going to be in the game, and it was not in the game. He did not look like his normal self. I don't know if he'll be back this week. That is why he has fallen down to 5. Brandon Jacobs, number 6, $5,500 versus the Vikings. Had a huge game last Thursday. Had 10 days to rest. Will he be starting? As of right now, I'm not sure. That's why he's so far down the list. He did just come off, he's come off 10 days rest. So factor that in. Look in the lineup about an hour before game time to make sure he is starting. I'm not sure who will be back, so check that out. Number 7 is Doug Martin. He has just not been what he was last year. He comes in at $8,000 versus the Falcons. I'm not going to lie, this year's been very disappointed for him and most of his fans. He has not been that back that had 4 rushing touchdowns last year, had all those 50 points, one game for fantasy football. So he is down the list. Last year at this time, he was at the very top of the list, so you never know. Number 8, Trent Richardson, Denver at Indy. It's Trent Richardson. He's not been, just like the previous one, he's not been as good as he has or was last year, but he's been traded, and now he's the go-to back there. So look for him. He's 7,600 versus the Packers. It just depends. The Packers and the Lions were in a shootout for a while, so there was a bunch of running, and then the Packers got the lead, and then they had to start passing it. So if Denver and Indy keep the game close, I believe Richardson will be a huge factor in the run game. Number 9 is Noshawn Moreno, just like Indy and Denver. He just came off 3 rushing touchdowns, but that was against the Jaguars, so take that with a grain of salt on that one. Indy's defense, though, was giving up the huge runs. If anyone watched the game Monday, they could not stop San Diego's run at all. It just kept going. It was play after play, and they knew it was going to be a run. They knew it was going to be a run, and they couldn't stop it. Whether or not Noshawn will do it that good, I believe he will. And his price hasn't really gone up, especially with 3 touchdown performances, 7,700. And he is number 9, so look out for him. And number 10 is Frank Gore. He is getting old. He's been real slow lately. He'll do it. He'll get a point there, half a point there. But when he comes to the goal line, it's always usually him this year. He is 6,800 versus the Titans. And the Titans just gave up a huge game to Lynch over in Seattle. So you kind of got to be careful with that. Frank Gore is pretty cheap at 6,800. So look out for what he can bring to the table. Let's jump right into wide receivers. And I put number 1, Calvin Johnson. And I know he had a horrible week last week. He's not been very Calvin Johnson-like he was last year when he broke the record. Just forget last week. This is a new week, start over. I think he's going to have a huge game. I think he's healthy. He's had time. Go with that. He's 8,500 versus the Bengals this week. Number 2 is Brandon Marshall, 8,300 versus the Redskins. I think he's going to have a huge game just like he had last week versus the Redskins secondary, who are not good this year, give up the big plays. I believe he and Alshon Jeffrey are going to have a huge game in the pass game this week. Number 3 is Victor Cruz, 7,200 versus the Vikings. Defense wins championships. Vikings don't have that defense right now. They're not going to win that championship. They did just give up a huge game to Cam Newton. It's Victor Cruz. He's bound to have a big game. It's Eli. If he doesn't throw those interceptions, I believe Victor Cruz will be able to haul in. I'm going to go over 150 yards, and I'm going to say that he has a couple touchdowns on this mid-season. And it's been just a horribly down season for not only Victor Cruz, but he has outshined the 0-6 record that they have. Number 4, Deshaun Jackson, 8,200 versus the Cowboys. Deshaun Jackson just had a huge game last week. His price is 8,200. It's Dallas, and Dallas did just give up huge passing games a couple weeks ago to Denver. So look for Deshaun Jackson to, once he catches that ball, he is gone. He's just got that speed. He is number 4 on my list. Number 5 is A.J. Green, 8,400 versus the Lions. Now, the Lions do give up the big passes as well. And his value right now, being A.J. Green at 8,400, is a decent value. And you need to pick that before it skyrockets up. Once he has a good game, it's just going to go completely up. Number 6, I wanted to bring it up, but the ranking right now is what I have. Justin Blackman, 7,100 versus the Chargers. I hope you took my advice from my other one and you actually started him last week. Huge game. 190 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but 190 yards and 18. He had so many targets, and he hauled almost all of them in. 190 yards is amazing on Daily Fantasy Sports. No matter who he plays in the defense, as long as Chad Henne is in for quarterback, he is going to see that target rate just keep climbing. So check back for that. If Chad Henne is in at quarterback for Jacksonville, put in Justin Blackman, not Cecil Shorts. Number 7 is Michael Floyd, 6,200 versus the Seahawks. It's just a value play. I just looked through everything that I could. I checked the prices. He is a value play. I would stay away from him a little bit if you can, but if you need that back, Michael Floyd. Number 8, T.Y. Hilton, 6,000 versus the Broncos. T.Y. Hilton, the Broncos have, I think, the 29th worst pass defense. T.Y. Hilton, when he is factoring in, he will be on target. I believe that the Broncos will be up, and Andrew Luck's going to have to throw it. He's either going to throw it to T.Y. Hilton, or he's going to have to throw it to Reggie Wayne. So they're both going to get their looks, so check that out. Terrence Williams, number 9, 5,500 versus the Eagles. With Miles Austin being back, Des Bryant in there, Terrence Williams also had a good game. The passes have been spread out. It's not just directly to Des Bryant. And we don't know how good Miles Austin's health is. So Terrence Williams at 5,500 is a good value. And number 10, like I said, and I've said it 3 times already, $6,900 value, Reggie Wayne. I believe Andrew Luck's going to throw it to him, and that's all basically I can say. Top 5 tight ends. Number 1, Antonio Gates, 6,700 versus the Jaguars. Tight end versus the Jaguars, got to take him. That's just what I have. Number 2, Jordan Cameron, 6,900 versus the Packers. Jordan Cameron's kind of fizzled out a little bit. His price has gone down. It was up. 6,900. Check it out. Decide if that's what you want with the Packers. Julius Thomas, 6,900 versus the Colts. Peyton Manning has so many targets he can throw to. You never know exactly who he will throw it to. So Julius Thomas, 6,900 Colts. I'm going to say go with that. That just, it's really good. You never know. Number 4, Greg Olsen, 6,000 versus the Rams. The Rams, Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, kind of see where I'm going with this on the passing. If you need to, he is ranked number 4. Number 5 is Garrett Graham, 4,800. He was a complete dud last week with 2 receptions for 25 yards. I think he's going to have a better game, but I'm not 100% sure. That's why I put him down. He is versus the Chiefs, who have had amazing defense and are undefeated this year, blowing everyone's mind. So that's who I have for this video. Hopefully this list helps you look for that value for each player while building your lineup. If you go to my sports blog over at fantasysportsadvice.sportsblog.com, look at that, comment on there if you need, or you can comment on here. Follow that blog for me if you would. Just help me spread that. That will be the paper version where you can print those out and look at all this and compare that with your lineup. So hopefully you like this video. Hopefully it helps you. Make sure you play those head-to-heads in those 50-50 leagues where half the leagues are going to almost double their money. If you put 5 in, you'll get 9. If you put 10 in, you'll get 18, and so forth. So comment, like, subscribe, spread this channel. Hopefully my fantasy sports advice helps you.